Anyone want to talk? Why they're doing this?
Freedom.
Okay.
That's it. We're here for freedom.
Are you going to do this during the speech?
No, we're not going to interfere with the speech. We never do.
Okay.
We've been doing this since May 2nd of 2020.
Okay.
Since that time, 14 angry, unhinged liberals have been arrested or summons arrested for acts of violence against us. And since that time, not one of our patriots has been arrested or summons arrested.
Very good. So are you from Greenfield?
I don't tell you where I'm from because I want the liberals to dox me and burn my house down. You're filming right now.
I am. But it goes on live stream.
Yeah. Are you live streaming right now?
No.
Okay.
You have to have 15,000 subscribers, and I only have 15,001.
I only have 4,100 friends on Facebook.
So we have
41.
You have the 40.
For some of you. And we have Town Administrator Steve Ellis, Town Administrator Andrea Lamas, and we have Elena Cohen from Joe Comerford's office, Senator Comerford's office. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to be very brief, as I prefer to be, but I just want to recognize all the good work that the senator does and has done. Senator Warren, as we know, is on the forefront in the battle for our democracy, which is very tenuous right now. And we want to make sure she's acknowledged for that, along with her Democratic colleagues. Thank you. Hello, Greenfield Community College. And watch the sound. There we go. And hello, friends. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you. Mayors are the people who have the hardest jobs in America. So I gotta watch my sound. So we want to be sure to say thank you for the work you do every single day. Thank you. So first, we got to do the most important thing of getting together in a democracy, and that is the selfie. So instead of doing the individuals, which we can't do anymore, kind of in what I'm now told is called COVID endemic America, what we're going to do is a group one. So I'll manage, and then we'll post it online. Okay? Here we go. Here we go. All right, everybody ready? Smile. Yeah. All right, that's what it's all. So, it is so good to be here with all of you. You know, I go down to Washington. I'm so proud to represent you there and to be from Massachusetts. But I gotta say, Saturday morning, it's beautiful out. It's a gorgeous area. There are about 1 million terrific things you could be doing. And instead, you're here to talk about our democracy. Thank you very much. You really make me proud. So, I come to you at a time really of celebration. I know there's a lot that's gone wrong. I know there are huge threats to our democracy, threats here at home, threats around the world. Ukraine under assault, a former president of the United States who appears to have put our national security at risk and individuals at risk, a whole attack on our democratic system. But at the same moment, we've been out there fighting, you and me and lots of other folks, just fighting to make this country a little fairer, a country that attacks the problems that we face collectively. And today, I get to come to you and talk about some real successes. And the first one I just got to say is student loan debt. On Thursday morning.
First, I want to applaud you for going after corporate taxation shirkers. Anyway, my hot button is Citizens United and its elimination. We are too corrupted in Congress with lobbyists and people who can pay hundreds of millions of dollars to pervert our elections.
Yes.
Okay, other hot button.
Okay.
I got off on
You're
that
just,
tangent.
yeah, you're just pushing mine too. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna leave it at that.
You're gonna stop there?
Yeah, I'm old enough to have forgotten what I was gonna say.
Okay, that's all right. Bless your heart, live in peace. I do want to say one quick thing about that though. When we were talking about filibuster a minute ago, look, anybody who comes to you and says, I believe in sensible gun laws, but I'm not willing to redo the filibuster, then it's just a game. Then you're not. Because you're not. You're not going to do any kind of meaningful change unless we get rid of the filibuster. But I want to... Hi, Emily.
Greenfield.
Green from Greenfield, I got it. Okay, and your coat pink all the way.
Yes. And my question is about our foreign policy.
Yeah.
And we have to realize that we spend beaucoup of money to keep wars going. And that money, if we would stop doing that, could be brought back to this country and be able to use for social net programs that we desperately need money for. And so my question for you is, could you support stopping our sending weapons to Saudi Arabia, to all of, Israel, to all of the countries that we don't need to be sending weapons to? And I would like to know what your stand is on that.
So can I take your question and actually just raise it another, I'll see your two-heart bid and raise it one. And that is, your senator sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. And I am the only member of the Senate Armed Services Committee who has voted against increasing the defense budget. And this is a big part of why. You have made a passionate argument about arms. I'm with you. Let me make one more that I just want to make sure everybody's in on here. And that is, yes, we could bring this money home, but also we need to spend more money on the State Department. We can't just fund the military to the furthest extremes and hollow out the State Department. The State Department, there are eyes and ears and our representatives on the ground. These are the folks who speak the local language. They understand the local economy. They help us be informed early about where problems are, where opportunities are, how best to support democracy in the areas they're in. So I'm just going to put in a pitch as well, and I do this repeatedly in the Senate Armed Services Committee. You wouldn't be surprised. We get one general after another who comes through, and often the first question I ask is about the importance of funding the State Department. And to their credit, the generals have said, in effect, if you don't put more money into the State Department, then you're just going to have to keep buying me more bullets. And I'd rather see the money go to the State Department. So, going to keep pushing on it. Trevor?
Thank you. I'm the chair of the Greenfield Select Board, just down the way here. I wanted to have you talk a little bit about infrastructure spending and infrastructure money, the bill that came through. Our town has been devastated by having to redo our infrastructure, mainly our sewer systems. When the EPA was developed in the 70s, 90% grants came to towns to build wastewater infrastructure. We're doing a $22 million expansion right now, and we've got about $1.6 million in a grant. We're working well with the USDA. They're a fantastic organization that has helped us, make this affordable with 40-year loans. But the amount of money that we're getting just doesn't compare. You have 900 users paying for $22 million of infrastructure, and we have another whole plant, which is probably $20 million to fix. These are old infrastructure things. We want to know when that money from the infrastructure bill will make it to local communities like ours to really invest in our infrastructure.
Okay, so that is a great question. And let me do just a couple of quick things on it. The first one is part of the reason we have such huge infrastructure bills coming due is because we've underinvested in infrastructure for 50 years now. And particularly the last 30 years. And just every time we think about things like the Republican tax cut that took $2 trillion out of our budget, and what did it produce? It produced more wealth for the billionaires and the giant corporations. And it also meant we were caught on the economic question. Do you run up the debt higher to try to do the infrastructure that needs to be done? Do you print more money? What's the way to be able to get the infrastructure that we need? And unfortunately, both Democrats and Republicans for too long have said, let's patch it as best we can. Well, patch it as best we can is not working anymore. So let me put it this way. We've done one big infrastructure bill, but it's important. I do not want to understate what it does, but it's just not enough. We got to come back next year. We got to put more into infrastructure. This is how our towns and cities survive. This is how our people survive. So count me in.
Sabina Dusenberry.
It's
I'm
nice
from
to see you.
Furnace Falls.
All right, good to see you, Sabina.
Nice to see you and seeing all that passion that you have for everything you do. I wanted to find out, I heard that a lot more IRS inspectors have been hired, but it seems like they're going after more of the small people again than the really big corporation.
Okay, you've been watching Fox News.
No, NPR. I'm really a believer in NPR.
So let's talk about that, okay? Because I was talking about the part in the tax provisions about the minimum corporate tax that I'm really excited about. But I want you all to know, I was also fighting to increase the budget of the IRS. And here's the reason why. Guess who doesn't pay their taxes? Not just the rich, come on. The really rich, the ultra rich, are the and the giant corporations. But here's the problem. Do you know how hard it is to figure out they didn't pay their taxes and to come in after them? Because these are the folks who can hire a zillion lobbyists and a zillion lawyers. The lobbyists make sure there are little tiny loopholes all the way through, and the lawyers come in and they give, 5 different layers of what kind of corporation you are and who owns this in order to make it complex. But the reality is now that independent observers are saying that literally our nation is losing tens of billions of dollars in tax revenues every year because of the people at the top who don't pay their taxes. So what this is for is this money is coming in to do 2 things. The first one is so they can afford to hire the folks and keep them there long term who dig in on the hard questions on taxes for the big corporations and for the billionaires. And indeed, the current commissioner of the IRS, who was a Donald Trump appointee, confirmed by the Senate and is still there, this guy has said that's all we're spending this money on in terms of increasing the number of audits. We're actually using it to investigate the people at the top who are not paying and the corporations that are not paying. There's one other thing that's in this bill, though, that I've been fighting for a long time, and it's something called free file. Think about it this way. The IRS already has the information on your W-2, right? They already know what's already been reported independently. And they know the number of children you've got, if you have, how many dependents you're claiming. Instead, what happens right now in America is, though, you've got to fill out a form. That goes into the IRS, and you're going to love this. What's the principal job of the IRS? It's to see if the numbers you reported match up with the numbers that were reported by your employer. And they spend a bucket of time and money tracking down that you reported $10 more, that your employer reported $100. We're trying to get those to line up. And a huge proportion of the time, it's just a small mistake. Somebody miscopied something. Somebody made a little mistake. You can see why it is that I'm here today to celebrate. We have good ideas that are good for people, ideas where we fight from the heart. And by golly, as the last month has shown, we can actually get something done. So, and with that, Paul, you want to come up here? I've got Paul Marks. You've seen I saw your signs out on the way. Paul Marks, who's going to keep this rowdy crowd under control as we do our questions. Paul, up to you.
Well, thank you, Senator, and thank you so much for asking me to moderate this. What a great honor. It's probably my last official event in Greenfield as your rep. So,
no.
Oh, thank you. So the ground right here.
Another part of the IRA is about insulin. Anybody here have to take insulin or know somebody who's diabetic? Yeah, love somebody, work with somebody who's diabetic. It's all of us, right? The bill originally had a $35 a month cap for everybody on insulin. Now the Republicans, they're out there. They know who they fight for. They stripped out the cap for everybody not on Medicare. Yeah, but we were able to keep it in for the Medicare. We couldn't get a single Republican vote in favor of it, but at least for Medicare recipients, the cost of insulin is going to be capped at $35, and that's a good thing. Okay, and one more. The week before that, we passed something that I call the Chips and Science Bill. And I call it that because there was a lot of talk about the chips portion. This is about onshoring our supply chain for the silicon chips that go into everything now, into cars and everything. And I'm all in favor of that. But it's 4 times as much support that goes into basic scientific research. We are doubling the NSF's budget for the next 5 years. This will pay dividends for decades. And it particularly means a lot to me because some of you, because I actually recognize some faces here, may have been here when I first ran for Senate in that crazy campaign in 2012 that I started out, is it possibly be down 148 points or something, whatever it was. But one of the things I talked about is the importance of investing in basic science, that this is something we need to do as a nation. And 4 weeks ago, we made a huge commitment in that direction. So I've been fighting for this since I first got in Congress. Guess who's opposed? TurboTax, H&R Block, right, have fought it and fought it and fought it. And look, be clear, if you don't think it's right, you think they don't have the right dollars or you don't think they have the right number of dependents, you just say no and then fill out the form just like you would anyway, and that's fine. But one of the things that's in this bill is the money to start the IRS on the path of doing free file. It's not going to work for people who have complex forms. It's not designed to, but that can work for ordinary working people who can do their taxes in just a few minutes. They don't have to spend $200 or $300 to get somebody to fill them out, and they don't have to worry about making mistakes. So that's the other part that's in there. Good government. Thank you.
I'm going to call 3 more names.
Oh, you need mine?
I'm going to call up 3 more numbers before this gentleman asks his
Just
question.
so they're on deck.
333.
I'm from Hawley, Massachusetts.
Nice to see you.
I know we have an epidemic beyond the pandemic, and that is the gun violence epidemic in the United States. I personally would like to see an amendment proposed that would abolish the Second Amendment. I would like to see, having failed that, I'd like to see us return to the ban on assault weapons, which might be easier, if not easy, but certainly more achievable given that they're really not a hunting weapon or a personal defense weapon. Can you comment on that? Would
You bet I
take
can.
a leadership position
Yeah.
on that, please?
So let me just start with what gun violence means in America. We are losing people every day. We lose people, we talk about the mass shootings, those are the ones that get some of the headlines. We also lose people just, there's a shooting, people get mad and somebody shoots somebody. We also lose people to domestic violence, and we also lose people to self-inflicted harm. And all of it, people get mad, people get unhappy, people get angry, but guns make all of that far more lethal than it otherwise would have been. It's not something that just happens. It happens at the rate it happens in the United States because of policy choices that we have made as a nation. If the nation would simply adopt the laws that we have put in place here in Massachusetts on assault weapons, on registration, just those, we could cut gun violence all around the country by about 40%. And understand, it would also cut gun violence here in Massachusetts because people bring in guns from across state lines. So the need for this could not be more urgent. It is truly life or death. We cannot pass more meaningful gun legislation unless we get rid of the filibuster. So long as Mitch McConnell has a veto, then the National Rifle Association has a veto.
That's right.
And we can't get through things that 90% of Americans support. And I mean 90% of Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. That tells me that the filibuster is giving Mitch McConnell a veto that is costing lives here in Massachusetts and all across the country. It is time to end the filibuster. And we are close. I want to tell you exactly how close we are. 2. If we can hang on to the senators we've got on the Democratic side, and it's looking good, although anybody who wants to go help Maggie nearby, right, any of the senators, but they're looking good. If we can pick up 2 more, and yes, Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin, I'm looking at you. Pennsylvania, I'm looking at you. 2, both of them are committed to rolling back the filibuster, and that's how we have enough votes in the United States Senate to pass some sensible gun safety legislation that will save the lives of our children, our family members, our friends, and our neighbors. So thank you for the question. Let's do this. And thank you for your t-shirt back there. I see Mom's Demand Action is in the house. So we can do the work we need to do. That's my pitch. Yes, sir.
Art, you are going to be the last question.
Last question, make it a good one.
Hi, I'm Art Schwenger from Heath,
Hi, Art.
and I like simple things. You started out saying that our democracy is threatened. What do I tell my my neighbor, my 18-year-old or 20-year neighbor, who may or may not know what that means in terms of real terms? Can you say 1 or 2 of the most important things that we have under threat if our democracy is under threat? What will we lose?
If we lose the ability of voters to determine who represents us and ultimately what laws get passed, then we're a nation that doesn't even have a hope of working for everyone. It doesn't even have a hope of working for most everyone. It doesn't even have a hope of working for a lot of people. We become a nation that works for a tiny little group of very, very powerful people. They may be in government, they may not. They may run corporations, they may not. They may just sit on their bags of money. But the point is, all the power sucks up to a handful of people. And does that touch you on the first day? Maybe not. not until somebody you know and love ends up with pregnancy that they need to terminate. Or somebody who's hoping to have children and needs fertility treatments that violate what that tiny little group says is permissible or not permissible. That's when it starts to touch you. Or when you have kids and you want to send them to public schools, and it turns out there's no more money for public schools because it's all been privatized. And there's nobody left who just educates all of our children, who takes them in and who loves them, and who says they're all welcome here, no matter what. Nope, it'll be education for those who can pay, and everyone else gets left behind. And how about that infrastructure? You can drink clean water if you live in one of the places that's favored for getting the infrastructure, and everybody else, well, boil your water. And good luck to you. And on and on and on through every part of your life. And that's the part that scares me. You know, my daddy was a janitor. I wanted to be a public school teacher. My chance was a college that cost $50 a semester. Why did it cost $50 a semester? Because the taxpayers put in enough money to say that even the kid of a janitor ought to have a chance. And my chance was education. We've already taken that away from our kids. That's right. And if we let this power concentrate more in people who don't want to pay their taxes, if we let this concentrate more among a half dozen people who only care about people who look just like them, who only understand the problems of double taxation. Breaking my heart, baby. If we let all of the power in this country further go to that handful up at the top, then we lose something so precious. And understand this, we don't lose it for one election cycle. Man, the Republicans get back in 2022, they got a plan. Block everything. Party of no. So that in 2024, they can say the Democrats got nothing done, right? They take this government back in 2024, they're going to make sure that they stay in power forever. And that's every part of your life. It's your health care, it's your housing, it's your transportation, it's the water you drink, it's the air you breathe, it's whether your children have any kind of future. That's what this is about. So I'm going to just wrap this up before I get both teary and furious about this. I am so grateful to you and to every one of you who shows up on a Saturday morning and says, I want to hear about how the IRS is getting funded. I want to think about economic policy. I want to hear about water infrastructure. But most of all, I want to invest in my democracy. I am grateful to you because this